Enactus South Africa welcomes you to the inaugural regional competition closing ceremony. We have a jam-packed program for you today. But first, we would like you to meet our host, the owner of Boss Eternal, a visual artist, student developer, accounting graduate, speaker, and an entrepreneur. An Enactus alumnus from the Nelson Mandela University. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome your host, Xolela Madlanga.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the inaugural Enactus Regional Competition, the first of its kind in South Africa. Enactus South Africa is bringing you exciting changes this year, including a focus on student entrepreneurs, shifting from project to social enterprise, as well as curated competitions. The national competition will consist of a top 12 that will be competing for the national championship, as well as a development league, ensuring that no one is left behind. The theme for this year is passion on purpose. So we want to see how your passion is driving a purpose within your social enterprise. To expand more on this, we welcome Enactus South Africa CEO and country leader, Letitia de Wet.
Good afternoon. I would like to welcome the Enactus Network, our team's faculty advisors, alumni, judges and observers, and our colleagues to the inaugural 2021 Enactus South Africa Regional Competition. Thank you for being part of this incredible journey. I am Letitia de Wet, CEO and Country Director of Enactus in South Africa. I'm thrilled to welcome you as we celebrate 20 years of our existence in South Africa and generations of entrepreneurial leaders in our network who are passionate about advancing the economic, social and environmental health of our country and the world. While I'm sure that, like me, you're disappointed not to gather with friends from across our remarkable network, our decision to host our regional competition and the Netback Ideation Challenge online was unanimously supported by the Enactus board and all leaders throughout our network. On a personal note, I need to say that all of the Enactus competitions are absolute highlights on our annual calendar, and I'm sure I speak on behalf of all of my colleagues and our board that we really are disappointed that we can't be together in person as in the past. But let me assure you that we've done everything in our power to make it an enjoyable and worthy experience for all. In this tumultuous time, I've so appreciated being able to talk with so many of you, and I am inspired by your leadership, commitment and care for our Enactus family. It was marvelous to see how everyone has bonded together, from our teams who have pivoted projects to support people affected by COVID-19 to our partners whose outpouring of support for all of you has been truly overwhelming. Thank you to each and everyone. To our students, we could not be more proud. You have reminded us that you are the leaders our world needs now more than ever. We all pray alongside the global community that the impact of COVID-19 passes without greater harm, though we know we are still in for difficult days ahead in many communities. Our thoughts are with all those who have been impacted by COVID-19, and we send our heartfelt gratitude to all of you and your team members. For that reason, I want to remind you all of what is guiding Enactus South Africa, our national staff and our board, especially in light of the emerging economic scenarios associated with the current pandemic. We are focused on creating stability and growth for Enactus and the scaling of our projects nationally. We are determined to tackle unemployment in our country and to deliver more entrepreneurs and small businesses to our economy. Testament to this is the fact that we now allow our students to become business owners of the projects and enterprises they develop through our Enactus program. As mentioned, we have made a significant change to our program this year. Not only have we introduced the regional competition as a precursor to the national competition, but we also activated the teams through the introduction of the Summer Challenge. These initiatives seek to create early competition opportunities for our teams with the intention of curating and improving the overall quality of our program. Although the top 12 teams will be selected through this regional competition, all our teams will still be able to participate in the national competition through the introduction of the Development League. Also note that all active Enactus teams were eligible to compete in the inaugural regional competition, and competing teams were divided into leagues or regions based on their due location. In addition, 8 teams have been selected to participate in the Netbank Ideation Challenge. As you know, there is no better source for hope and motivation amid these uncertain times than Enactus Enactus students and their work. You, our Enactus students, are key change leaders to creating the new normal into which we will emerge. For that reason, we have tremendous opportunity ahead, and we're seeing them come to life already as we saw successful Enactus collaborative ventures amongst our teams and our partners. Thank you for your remarkable leadership through these daring times. On behalf of Enactus South Africa Board and staff, I welcome you to the 2021 Enactus South Africa Regional Competition with huge thanks to our long-term partner, Harmony Gold Mining Company, as our host sponsor. Also huge thanks to our other long-term partner, Nedbank, who sponsored the 2021 Nedbank Ideation Challenge. Lastly, I'd like to extend our deepest appreciation to the participating companies in our second virtual career fair. We hope you've enjoyed all of these activities and learned more about employability, have connected with your peers, and reflected on all of your accomplishments so far. And with that said, I hand over to our lovely host and the facilitator of the panel discussion.
First, let's hear from our regional competition sponsors, Harmony Gold.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen and participants. My name is Peter Steenkamp. I'm the CEO of Harmony. We are a very proud sponsor of Enactus. More than ever, we know that our young people are the future of our company and also of our country. We really wish you luck. We really believe that the entrepreneurial skills and the knowledge that you will develop during the course of this competition will stand you in good stead going forward.
Now we move on to an exciting segment, a panel of inspirational Enactus alumni. As alumni myself, I'm eager to hear success stories from those who've graduated from the program. You will not only get inspired, but learn a great deal from our select speakers from various regions. And now, over to another alumna for the panel.
Thank you, Olela. Indeed, we have an interesting conversation in store. Let's get straight into it. A sustainable approach to business. Government, development agencies, and philanthropic missions face limitations in decisively addressing socio-economic threats. We know that business is a key driver for growth and transformation. But beyond just being profitable, we have seen a global push for business that is also human-centered in its approach. Are we able to have enterprises that deploy sound and profitable business practices while also being in touch with the human experience and leading with kindness, compassion, and empathy? Our panelists have also highlighted the nexus between intellectual work produced within academia with the community development process. Research enhances the capacity and ability of our communities and those who work with them to be the architects of their improvement. Informed communities with understanding of their own needs and their competence in tackling them become more confident and capable. Research in this way, therefore, becomes a tool for empowerment. The resolutions of community research can be used to guide our efforts toward growth and transformation. Raymond, an Enactus alumnus and researcher, speaks to us about how we can be active and engaged citizens by becoming economic participants in our local communities as a means of stimulating local economic development. Let us hear what he has to say.
One of my big projects which I did, which was in 2012, it was around LED, local economic development, and how to create local economic development. And maybe let me give you an example. Instead of filling up your tank gas, your vehicle in town, you might want to fill it back at your own township or in your own local area. That is how one creates that. I mean, if, for instance, in terms of buying clothing, furniture, you might want to, I mean, let me give you a typical example with Truett's, Jet, or Enactus, that it's in town and it's in also townships these days, that you might want to go and buy in your townships. That is the level of creating local economic development in your area.
Very interesting insights from Raymond. Crespen Ndlovu, also an alumnus and currently employed by one of our partnered companies, CHEP, has been actively engaged in civic affairs through his involvement and participation in bodies such as the Young African Leaders Initiative Network. This has shaped his drive to conduct more research which goes beyond abstract concepts into the development field that can yield measurable results in local communities.
We're volunteering as a sustainability coordinator for Young African Leaders Initiative. So over the weekend, we had a workshop where we took some rural youth in agriculture initiative. So we visited a project where there's a farmer who's doing organic farming. So I think we were about 30 youth that attended that event. So we're just trying to learn, how does this farmer engage? How does this farmer do their business? How do they, what is their mission behind doing organic farming? So those who attended, they could understand that really it's development or growth in life goes beyond the book. You have to expose yourself, see what other people are doing, and then see how we can fit in those areas for one to be an asset to the world.
Raymond's research also explores some of the factors that influence our entrepreneurial aspirations. It is important that we are sensitive to psychosocial matters, such as those mentioned by Raymond, as they are inextricably connected to all other things. One of the focal points of the research is measuring entrepreneurial intent, and it investigates the impact of black tax on the psyche of entrepreneurs.
Quite recently, with my doctoral studies, I'm looking at how does black tax influence students' entrepreneurship intentions. And I remember when I started this topic, everyone was saying that this is not a researchable topic, it's not possible. There's no variable called black tax in statistics or in a scholarly manner, in a scholarly area. So therefore, you can't even test black tax. Scientifically, it does not exist. And why I embarked on this research was because there was a gap. You have a model which is used, theory of planned behavior is the most used or commonly used model in measuring students' entrepreneurship intentions, youth entrepreneurship intentions, or even entrepreneurship intention on its own. That model was developed in about 1991, or even further beyond 1991, where the model only accounts for entrepreneurship intentions. So I'll give you an example. It has three variables, which is attitude towards entrepreneurship, planned behavioral control, and social norm or subjective norm. Now, when I looked at this model, of course, looking at literature, Ebeo conducted his PhD in this area, and what he found out is that, or rather what he discovered, is that this model does not account for the societal norms of an African context, but that of a European context. He then decomposed the model into two, and that was instead of these three variables leading into intention, these three variables leads into either immediate intention or future intention. And that's why I picked it up to say, we then have total entrepreneurship activity. It's a report which is produced by Global Entrepreneurship Monitor. And in that report, you have South Africa falling way behind in terms of total entrepreneurship activity. And then you then have these studies that have been conducted throughout the years. I mean, I looked at around, in a scientific scholar, you look at about 5 years, but of course, on the history literature is that, over decades ago, this model has always been used. You have this, even in South Africa, where the intention is quite high. So you ask yourself, okay, there's high intentions, but there's actual, there's low activity in terms of, young people participating in the entrepreneurship space. Of course, there are other factors, and I'm not leaving that out when I looked. You've got access to market, finance, skills, leadership, and so forth. But what then I decided to look into was the social component of the three variables in the model. And I decomposed that to say there is an element called black tax. Although, scholars are saying it does not exist, in reality, we know that it exists. So the study now tries to develop, firstly, the first study ever that seeks to develop an instrument to measure black tax scientifically. And then secondly, we then want to find out whether indeed black tax, does it have an effect, significant impact on actual entrepreneurship or on intention itself, even when we decompose the model using a Bayes model on the new Bayes model on adoption and intention. So, I mean, we hope that this study will be, it's obviously gray area and it's a groundbreaking study because it's the first on its nature to look at the concept in the history of, academia or scientific scholar. So those are the key two issues that we want to achieve. And of course, as the study, comes up with those measures, we then start to measure and see how do we then bridge the gap in terms of, the actual total entrepreneurship action and the intention.
Anthony Townsend, also an Enactus alumnus, practicing as a clinical psychologist, speaks to us more about how psychosocial factors guide our actions and therefore should be considered in economic endeavors.
I guess a shift away in business, as you're describing, is this idea that we're moving from profits as being our sole focus to people being an important one. But the irony of the whole situation is that you don't have to be moving away from profit to be focusing on people. The truth is that they're interrelated. What we recognize is that in South Africa, we have a rate of burnout and depression. Assist them in being able to make sure that they can endure different life challenges and that they feel appropriately supported. What we ultimately find is that people are no longer to work effectively and efficiently. Ironically, it's by supporting people, by making people feel cared for, helping them develop personally, giving them the psychosocial support and resources necessary when they're in states of distress, that they actually find that their organizational commitment increases. We find that their efficiency and their effectiveness increases. It's actually by focusing on people that we create more profit. Far from these things being mutually opposed, more than anything, we've discovered in the 21st century that they are intimately interlinked and they're directly proportional. Having a heart for the world means that you will be able not only to change people's lives, but be creating much more successful businesses in the process.
We speak to Anthony about the general tendency of attributing failure to our human fallacy and weaknesses. The mistakes we make and from which we should be deriving lessons from easily become disastrous and final. In retrospect, these seemingly life-changing events are minute and trivial in the greater scheme of things. We understand that it is not in fact failure, but a learning opportunity. It was not the end, but just a part of the process. Anthony shares more on this.
It's an exceptionally important question, and one that I agree with you has a very individual answer for different people. But if you're asking me to draw on my personal opinion and what I think draws together not only my own life experience, but probably the most important lessons I learned through the literature of clinical psychology and all the research we've done, is that it requires a dramatic revamping of our definition of failure. So many of us get into academic pressure and situational pressure where we believe that failure means not achieving our goal. And this, unfortunately, is one of the most damning beliefs we can create for ourselves, because it's simply not true. The truth is, unfortunately, we place all this pressure on ourselves for success, and usually of an immediate nature. I need to get this mark, or I need to get this result, or I need to join this society, because these things will indicate my capability. And the truth is, life is not about achievement. Life is about growth. And growth necessitates challenge, and challenge necessitates conditions under which you might not be able to achieve the kind of outcome you thought. One of the things we always have to remember in our journey is things are going to be difficult. And the truth is, usually by them getting more difficult, it's going to allow you to achieve higher peaks later in your life. What I found particularly important is for people to change their definition of failure. Failure is not about getting a certain result. You can only fail one way in this life, and that's when you stop trying. And that lies in choice. If you keep trying, you keep growing. If you keep growing, you will succeed. And it's one of the most important things all human beings can know. Don't fear to fail. Don't fear to not get the right outcome. Don't fear to lose. Fear to stop growing. And if you're going to stop growing, it requires you to stop trying. If you never stop trying, hope springs eternal, and you never know what you'll be truly capable of. Some of the most powerful instances of people's transformations have been the times when they were challenged, when things didn't work out the way they wanted to. And I think many of us can recognize innumerous examples of this in some of the most famous entrepreneurs in the world. We've seen their instances where by not getting the outcome they wanted, it taught them valuable lessons to create something even better, something that they never even imagined they'd be capable of. All it necessitated was be willing to not get the outcome you want and use that to grow. Obstacles are not to be avoided. Obstacles are to be embraced because they're not the path away. They are the way. And if you're willing to stick through the challenge, then you get what you need on the other side.
We are undoubtedly living in and through precarious times which demand us to be innovative and resourceful in how we manage our lives, homes, livelihoods, and studies, whilst also trying to stay healthy in our bodies and minds. The prevailing reality of unemployment is an added challenge that young people are forced to grapple with beyond university. How then do we respond and chart forward in not only trying to survive, but to thrive? Sibulele Mzileni, one of our alumni, has walked the walk and now shares some insights with us.
Being employed, you make all sorts of excuses. If you wish to start a business, you make all sorts of excuses to yourself. I can't start this business. I don't have the time to do it. I can't do it. But also, it's important to be realistic. If you don't have the time to do it, if you don't have the energy to do it, spending those late nights trying to get to emails, trying to schedule meetings and schedule things, you're not going to be able to do it if you do not actually believe that now is the time for you to do it. So for me, I needed that sort of affirmation in my schedule, in my time, in me, for me to decide to actually say that, okay, now I'm ready and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it wholeheartedly, because that is something that any business needs. It needs you to dedicate yourself fully and your time. You need to know that, you know, it doesn't matter when your business needs you. You need to be able to say, okay, I need to drop whatever I'm doing and make sure that I attend to this, because some things happen, you know, urgently and unexpectedly, and you need to be able to be there for your business. So I would say mostly those were the contributing factors for me.
As entrepreneurs grow and develop, it is important to bring others along with them. Yanelisa, an alumnus of the Enactus program and founder of Sakhiwe Sihle, a construction company that has taken a human-centered approach to the growth and development of its employees, shares some of the work that they have done.
So when we were building a house at home, we used probably 4 different builders to build just mainly a 4-bedroom house, which I don't think is much and which I don't think you'd use 4 different service providers for. Then there was a problem identified from the industry itself, that we are involved with people who are skilled in terms of the actual work, but however lack very important skills such as project management, such as professionalism, such as financial management, because that's when we did like thorough research in terms of finding out what really is the core problem of builders. Why are they starting and not finishing projects? Why are they coming today, they're not coming tomorrow? Why are they starting here today, starting there tomorrow at another place without even completing the entire project? So we then found out that they're mainly skilled in the work that they do, but they don't have the soft skills that we find very important for running each and every project. So after finding that information out, it was then out of the spirit of Ubuntu and out of the spirit of building skills for different people that we then started a skills development program. Our skills development program mainly targeted builders from rural areas, and some of them didn't even have the skill of builders. It was just people who had probably, some of them dropped out of school, some of them finished matric and sat down, some of them don't even have grade 9. We just took those people from different rural areas and we committed ourselves into training them in the skill of building, and the skill of starting from becoming a laborer to becoming a bricklayer, to maybe each and every person had an opportunity to choose what skill they really want to do, whether it's plumbing, learning how to do electrical wiring, learning how to do the tiles, how to do the ceilings. It depended on each and everyone's interest. After that, we then embarked on a skills development training where we teach them. We say now, okay, now you know how to build, now you know how to do your electrical wiring, now you know how to do your plumbing and so on. So now we're teaching you how to do those things professionally, how to provide a service, by making them understand that building a house is not just building a house, it's a project. It needs project management skills. It needs professionalism. You must be able to have leadership qualities. So I think in terms of answering your question, Mandisa, that is how we have impacted over 50 people with those trainings, from basic skill trainings to becoming professional service deliverers of projects.
There are numerous organized networks that support entrepreneurs. Kwanele, who is also an alumnus, has spent most of his adult life in the development and support of entrepreneurs. He shares with us the importance of these support networks in the development and growth of entrepreneurs.
Right. I think there is a significant importance for these types of support networks, support organizations and institutions that are placed to support small businesses. For one of the most important reasons is because, when we look at the journey of entrepreneurship, it's not an easy journey. And if one is ill-informed and is not really aware in terms of some of the support systems available, they run a risk of failing. If you look at the issue of sustainability and the success of small businesses, is still an issue. says that a number of small businesses that are starting nowadays are bound to fail. So if we do not have institutions and networks that are placed strategically to assist those small businesses to be able to, thrive in very difficult times of starting up, it puts them in a very difficult position. So similarly, in our environment in South Africa, there is a number of institutions that have been placed to actually support small businesses in their first journey of starting up. For quite some time, I've been working for institutions that are developing small businesses in the form of enterprise development, supplier development, SEDA, the Small Enterprise Development Agency, being one of the organizations that champions, the development of small businesses in the country. It's an agency of the Department of Small Business Development. And that agency is strategically positioned to sort of support small businesses in their early ages of starting up. So I certainly think that placing more resources in institutions such as SEDA, institutions such as incubation centers that operate in different sectors, it will assist our small budding entrepreneurs to be able to be sustainable and survive in very difficult conditions. If you look at nowadays, with the issues such as the pandemic, placing very difficult challenges on small businesses, can you imagine that they will need to be supported in doing those type of things. But over and above that, I think is the collaboration and more of an integrated approach in supporting small businesses that still is lacking in our government as a whole. And I think if this institution were to sort of work together in trying to support small business, so that we don't have small businesses that are supported by different organizations without us knowing, where there are certain small businesses that haven't received any form of support at all. So we need that kind of integration, so that we are able to ensure that our work is properly coordinated and it yields to the results that we would envisage.
In closing, from the conversations that we've had, we recognize that the development of our communities does not solely hinge on the businesses alone, nor does it hinge on the entrepreneur. It goes far beyond academia and the networks, but balances on all of these pillars. For us to see real development, all of these should be deliberately pursued to advance the human project.
Access some of these opportunities that are available for these entrepreneurs. So how do we access the support that SEDA has for us? How do we access the support that any other agency or organization has for young entrepreneurs? Kwanele, I'm not sure if you're on. If you're in. Yes, Raymond, you're welcome.
Thanks. I think it's important to, as one of our colleagues was indicating, to establish those networks and collaboratives, because the problem that we have in South Africa is around the red tapes to access those opportunities for young people, particularly where you find out that when you want to apply for funding, you are told that there is a need of audited financial statements for 3 years, for instance. Where as a young entrepreneur, as a micro enterprise, are you going to access those particular facilities? So it becomes a huge challenge for accessing those opportunities as startups or young entrepreneurs, for instance?
Thank you so much, Raymond, for that. Kwanele, I'm not sure if you still want to come in. Kwanele, you may be on mute. I can see you talking, but I can't hear. Okay, we still can't hear you. I think while we sort out your audio issues there, let's jump to Anthony and maybe find out from a psychological point of view. I'm not sure if you've had an opportunity to deal with some of these issues where entrepreneurs are frustrated or disappointed or feel beat down by the difficulties that they encounter in their journey. Can you share with us maybe some of your experiences or your thoughts around how entrepreneurs can deal with or overcome some of these challenges?
Absolutely. It's something that I often experience, especially in my work, both in my practice in psychology, but of course in my work in terms of helping different organizations develop their leaders. Almost all entrepreneurs, as we know, are going to experience significant obstacles early in their career path, almost always. And one of the strategies that we know becomes very important in overcoming them is actually linking up with like-minded people who help create a sense of support, a sense of community, and offer not only resources, but often advice and support in that respect. The journey of an entrepreneur is often remarked on as being a lonely one, but that's not necessarily the truth when you look at how many people are willing to innovate and change the world. Creating a stable network of people who are facing similar challenges often creates the kind of emotional support and practical support that's needed. The other strategy that most entrepreneurs have to rely on is not altogether too dissimilar in terms of looking at people who've experienced different challenges, but rather looking at valued role models. Of course, one of the common and I suppose most spoken about examples of an entrepreneur who dealt with failures followed by tremendous successes are people like Elon Musk. Now, of course, those are easy go-tos, but we're not short of our own examples locally as well. Part of what all entrepreneurs find is useful is to keep that sense of motivation, to keep that sense of inspiration. You have to keep looking at instances where people have had failures that taught them valuable lessons to help them succeed. So it's not just about linking up with partners and like-minded individuals in the present, but it's about looking back to the past to see how this has worked for other people, to help yourself remind yourself that sometimes not getting what you need in the beginning can actually work out for the better later on if you keep innovating, if you keep working at it.
And I think if we continue on this path and we come to Crispin around innovation and perseverance on this journey, if you could maybe touch on those topics for us and your thoughts around that, and share with us any of your experiences in terms of being persevering through different challenges, as well as the role of innovation in human development in general. Chris, your audio is not coming through. Just double check there if you're not on mute. There we go.
Yes, can you hear me now? Good one.
Yes, we can hear you.
But I would say thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I wanted to say the issue of innovation and perseverance. We wouldn't have like the current economic giants if they never persevered. I like the guys that they were mentioning, the issues around South Africa, that there are challenges that are faced by the youth in getting finances, in getting support. But what we should know is they should take it on, and it will never come easy. They have to fight, and definitely they will get what they are looking at. Then when it comes also to innovation, I would also want to appreciate like some of the teams during these competitions, the way they were presenting their projects. Now we are living in a new normal. Things have changed. We have to find more ways in adapting in our lives. I liked the part where there was an issue around online learning, online teachings. Look, schools were closed for more than a year. Teachers were not going to Teachers were not attending schools, but we should find ways on how best can we get our things moving. Also, going back to one of the projects that I was also been engaging in terms of the issue of around organic farming, we are realizing that the issues around health are growing. People are getting obese and all other issues related to health-related issues. But we also need to find ways in agriculture that are going to improve the standard and the quality of food, that is going to improve also the health of people around. So in everything that we are doing, innovation and perseverance are key to a human-centered development approach. We can't really separate the two. We should make it a point that if students or people are engaging in projects, expect the failures, but it's not failure per se, but it's a learning that this way you cannot achieve what you want to do. Take the another route towards achieving your goal, and also finding the best possible ways that we can do our work and achieve our aimed goals.
Thank you so much to our panelists for that. There's a question that has come through from Cassandra Lamini, and she is asking, when do you know when to give up? Or how do you know when to give up? That's a question that she's posing. And anyone who wants to take it on, I see Raymond, you're nodding your head there. Do you want to come in first? Okay. Anthony, I think this may be your forte then.
Sure, I'm happy to help. And I do think it's a worthwhile consideration. When is it time to give up? So at least according to most of the literature around entrepreneurial success, and at least in general success mindsets, it's usually not about when do I give up, it's when do I change. Because giving up obviously implies that you're going to stop doing a certain thing. But that doesn't mean you need to stop altogether. Changing, adapting, and as Crispin mentioned, innovating is usually a much better question. The question is not when do I give up? The question is when do I give up this particular iteration of what I'm doing, this particular version of it? And that's when it's not working. When you're not getting to where you want to go and you're seeing meaningful information that's telling you this isn't working, don't think of it as giving up. Think of it as, how do I change? How do I adapt? And remember, that might be in adapting your markets, that might be adapting your product, that might be adapting your marketing, that might be adapting your service, that might be adapting how you source what you need. Look at how you change, look at how you innovate, because what you end up with might be completely different to what you started with. But changing, learning, and growing is always a much more meaningful journey than thinking about it in terms of success and failure, doing and giving up. It's not about doing and not doing, it's how do I do it differently. That's at least how I think most people who are getting to where they need to go think about it in this way. And I think that would be, Cassandra, I think the best means by which I think you can gauge how you should go about your own process.
Maybe to add more on what Anthony said, I would want to give an example of Thomas Edison when he developed the bulb. How many times did he fail? Did he ever thought of when should he give up? Instead, he considered alternative ways of achieving his goal. So here, the basic issue is about changing your ways towards achieving your goal. You are not changing your goal first, but you are changing your ways towards achieving that.
I think in terms of innovating and pivoting or changing from one iteration to the next, Yanelisa, I see, has just joined the call, and I think she can share a little bit from her journey in terms of how she innovated, how she pivoted, and how she persevered, being a young female in the construction industry. And I know she's shared a part of her story about how she's taken her employees and people in her community with in terms of progressing. But maybe share with us your note on innovating as well as persevering through difficult times as an entrepreneur.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Hello, everyone. Yeah, that's a very, very important question. It's very important to innovate. So basically, when we talk about innovation, we're talking about improving what you are currently doing to make it better. So, trying to find new ideas of sticking to your goal. I like what I heard from the speakers that just spoke in front of me when they said it's important that you don't change your goal, you change your ways. It's the same thing with innovation as well. With innovation, it's the very same idea that you pose when you start your business, but then you keep improving it, you keep making it better. I think for me, what really assisted me was um, getting more information about what I am doing and what I want to do, and also trying to find ways that are not currently used. Because in the industry that I am, it's a very big industry, and there are a lot of people that are already doing what I am doing. But what really assisted me to be different and to stay apart from everyone else was to ensure that I do what everyone else is doing differently, in a problem solving manner, in an innovative manner. So, yeah, it's very important that you become innovative with your dream. And in terms of perseverance, that's when you ensure that you know your end goal. So whatever that comes as a challenge on the way, you use that to climb to your end goal. So I don't think I'd be where I am without challenges. I don't think I would have even started the business that I am running currently if I didn't have any challenges. So I believe persevering through challenges is one thing that makes you grow in business. It's one thing that really makes you succeed in what you are doing, because challenges are there to groom us, they're there to grow us, and also they're there to make us learn. Because without any challenges, I wouldn't have learned anything in the industry. There was a point where I had to demolish a complete structure because the foundation wasn't proper. I had to persevere through that, losing money, fighting with clients, and all of that. But I believe that experience was one thing that really changed the whole mindset. It really changed the way I look at things. It really changed the way I run my business. So it's important that we go through challenges in order for us to succeed. So if you persevere through the challenges, then the reward is greater. They say you pay school fees all the time, and I believe the challenges are the school fees that we keep paying in our businesses, because most of them, they are you lose money in the process. You lose something in the process. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Angel, I'm not sure if I'm audible now.
Yes, Kwanele, I can hear you.
Yes, thanks. Yeah, maybe if I can just go back to the question that I was asked earlier on. Yeah, my apologies for the connection issues, but I think the question was also around more of a coordinated approach and the struggles facing small businesses, particularly when it comes to the compliance, the requirements. That is most of the time it sounds as if it's too much for startups. And I think in addressing that particular concern, I would say I will address it in two kind of folded ways. To say there is a role of government and the role of an entrepreneur in this struggle, because the role of government is also to ensure that the environment that is is being readied for small businesses to operate effectively. The role of government is to ensure a proper coordination in as far as small businesses and a startup is concerned, providing the necessary support for them to be able to drive. But there is also a very important role that for me is that of the entrepreneur himself or herself. The role I think that other colleagues of mine have nicely and well elaborated on, in as far as the perseverance, in as far as the persistence of the entrepreneur. If you are going to go into business, but you are not passionate, you haven't found what we often refer to as a flow, finding your passion, finding something that makes you feel as if you are actually not even working at all, then you will run a risk of actually wanting to quit every time you come to certain challenges. But if it's something that you continuously, persistently and passionate about, you find that particular, passion, and you find that particular means to continue actually being in that particular type of a particular business. But when Andile, you look at the question that was around when do you know when to quit, and I think Anthony a little bit did touch on it to say it's not a matter necessarily of quitting, but it's to also look at alternative options. Certain solutions that might actually be more easy for you, might be more possible and feasible for the type of operation that you would want. But when you start to affect your life to an extent that becomes unbearable, to an extent that affects even your family, to an extent that affects your children and all of those related kind of individuals. I would say that you really need to have to consider your options and consider them wisely in as far as looking at alternative options before you actually go out, in a very difficult deep end that you will not be in a position to come out of.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I think we've got under 5 minutes left for this session. I want to squeeze in a question from Tobek Ngabinde, who's asking, with the oversaturation of information, how would the panelists suggest we filter through what's relevant and what's not? And I think we can bring in 2 or 3 of our panelists, maybe starting with yourself, Raymond.
Thanks, Melusi. I always say, when I advise anyone around any topic, is to apply your filters. So don't take everything that you receive on face value and you believe it or you apply it, because some information that is put out there, it is, I would call it junk, if I may put it that way. So I think the best way is to use your filters, use your network to verify certain information, and go and do your own research. That is the most important part. That if there's information that comes your way and you're not particularly sure about that particular information, you go and do your own research, and in that way you are able to make an informed decision based on research and applying your networks. Your filters using your networks. Thanks.
Thank you. Anthony, your take on that?
Well, I can actually say I coincide very heavily with Raymond. I think he gave an exceptional answer there. I would agree. I think that filters are very necessary. The filters I think are most important are, first and foremost, when you're receiving information, you have to have reliable mentors on whom you can bounce this information off, because they're going to help you screen through a lot of the nonsense and help you get to the real data. But of course, the other part is, this is where, of course, being a student is useful. Thankfully, everyone who's working in these organizations understands the necessity and merit of a scientific and academic approach to information. So relying on peer-reviewed, credible sources of information is a fantastic way of helping yourself get to a true sense of what's going on. So as Raymond said, I think all information should be filtered, but the 2 filters I find most reliable are peer-reviewed scientific data, and thankfully business is a science, so it works that way. And secondly, any information you get, to actually bounce that off reliable mentors who are in the know, so that you feel you get the right kind of information, and you certainly dispense with the junk that Raymond mentioned, because there's that sort of information is indeed plentiful.
Thank you so much to our panelists. I see Sibu just joined it. I just want to get a word out of her. Quickly, just one. How do you? I know you've led various teams in your professional life and as a business owner. Can you just share with us in one or two sentences how you keep your team motivated despite conflicts and all those challenges that arise with team dynamics? Just a quick one to wrap it up.
Thank you so much. I've been here, but just because I'm logging in the call, I just switched off the video. But to answer your question, funny you should mention that question because I've got actually I was dealing with a bit of a conflict situation today. But like I reminded my team today, it doesn't matter what you are doing, whether you are running your own business or you're employed somewhere, you always need to just remember why you started. Remember your why. If you can stay true to why you are here and why you started what you're doing, you always find that little bit of a push to keep you going. So yes, that's my answer. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And I think, unfortunately, we're out of time now. And before we hand over back to the guys in the studio, thank you so much to all of our panelists for availing yourselves over the past, couple of days and weeks to help us put together this informative insert for our young entrepreneurs. Hopefully, all of our entrepreneurs can take something and learn and go and apply in their lives, in their businesses, in their careers. And we wish everyone all of the best. Thank you so much and have yourselves a wonderful day further.
And now for the part you've all been waiting for. We know you've been sitting at the edge of your seats, glued to your screens and eagerly waiting the results, and the time has come. It's time for the award ceremony for the Ideation Challenge, proudly sponsored by Nedbank. 8 teams were selected from the Summer Challenge. They were then afforded an opportunity to present in front of the Nedbank executives, and only 3 came up on top. In third place, winning 5,000 Rand is University of Limpopo. In second place, winning 10,000 Rand is Durban University of Technology. And in first place, winning 15,000 Rand, the winner is Northwest University. It's been a day filled with anticipation, suspense, and excitement. And now we wrap it up with the regional competition results. Remember, only 12 teams will be advancing to the national competition, and the rest will compete in the Development League. Here's a quick breakdown of the regions. Central and Western Cape region, consisting of Central University of Technology, University of the Free State Bloemfontein, and the University of the Western Cape. Only 2 teams will advance to the top 12 from this region. KwaZulu-Natal region, consisting of Durban University of Technology, Mangosuthu University of Technology, and University of KwaZulu-Natal. 2 teams from this region will advance to the top 12. The Eastern Cape region, consisting of Nelson Mandela University, Rhodes University, University of Fort Hare, and Walter Sisulu University. Only 1 team will advance to the top 12 from this region. Gauteng, Mpumalanga, and Northwest region, consisting of Northwest University, University of Johannesburg, University of Mpumalanga, Vaal University of Technology. 2 teams from this region will advance to the top 12. Lastly, the Northern region, consisting of University of Limpopo and University of Venda. Only 1 team will advance to the top 12 from this region. From the Central and Western Cape region, the 2 teams advancing to the top 12 are Central University of Technology and and University of the Free State Bloemfontein. From the KwaZulu-Natal region, the 2 teams advancing to the top 12 are Durban University of Technology and University of KwaZulu-Natal. From the Eastern Cape region, the team advancing to the top 12 is University of Fort Hare, from the Gauteng, Mpumalanga and Northwest region, the 2 teams advancing to the top 12 are Northwest University and University of Mpumalanga. From the Northern region, the team advancing to the top 12 is University of Limpopo.
Congratulations to the 8 teams advancing to the top 12.
I'm sure by now you've noticed we've only announced 8 teams to participate in the top 12. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we introduce to you the wild card. How does that work? Well, 4 teams have been selected through continuous assessment, looking at reports and administration, financial management, team support structures, and other various key performance indicators. Completing our top 12, the 4 teams are University of the Western Cape, University of Venda, Vaal University of Technology, and Walter Sisulu University.
Now let us recap on the top 12 in alphabetic order. Central University of Technology, Durban University of Technology, Northwest University, University of Fort Hare, University of KwaZulu-Natal, University of Limpopo, University of Mpumalanga, University of the Free State Bloemfontein Campus, University of the Western Cape, University of Venda, Vaal University of Technology, and completing the top 12, Walter Sisulu University.
Good afternoon. As Letitia mentioned earlier in the welcome address, this inaugural regional competition for Enactus South Africa was made possible through your acceptance of the Summer Challenge. It meant hard work, and it is exciting to see how our teams have embraced this new competition programming format. This was evident in the presentations that were submitted and viewed by our panel of judges. More than winning, the regional competition is another opportunity for our teams to showcase the impact their enterprises have had on their communities. As in business, we believe that competition encourages innovation. For Enactus, this means more lives impacted every day. So, on behalf of Enactus South African Board, all our partners and the national staff, we would like to congratulate all the teams who took part in the regional competition. Remember, when we compete to change lives, we all win. We would further like to congratulate all the teams who, due to extra efforts they've put towards their enterprises, were selected to the top 8, as well as the 4 teams who were selected due to their consistency in running their programs efficiently at their respective campuses. Congratulations and well done to the top 12 teams. Thank you.
Media, I don't know. Safe. I'm really eager to hear some success stories.
Kolela, what are you doing?
I'm recording for nationals. What do you mean?
But the nationals are not just going to be virtual.
What?
The final day is a live in-person event.
Oh, well, in that case, we will see you on the 19th to the 28th of July for the national competition.
And remember, the 28th is a live in-person event.
Obviously, we'll be taking COVID regulations into consideration. You just need to keep a lookout on all social media platforms and your emails for more information. I hope you enjoyed today's session, and we'll see you then.